Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Jimmy Good, and joining me, as always, is one of my go-to podcast compadres, Mr. Levi Fletcher. Levi, how you doing, pal?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. It's good to see you. I've missed you.
Been a bit.
Your hair is shorter than the last time when people saw you. So what? Okay, you got to tell people. People want to know about your hair.
People are gonna be like, "He's got a new place, a new hairstyle."
You've
like,
also
what
moved.
happened?
You moved house too. You've been.
I joined a cult.
Well, it seems like it's a nice cult because it seems like you're in a nice place.
Yeah,
It looks nice. Yeah. How was the move? Everything's good?
it's good. Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us here. There's probably a few new people here because we actually have had a few new subscribers since I was in the parks over in California, but also when I was on Easy Updates. So for anybody who's joining us for the first time, thank you. We really do appreciate it. And this week, for the first time in a little bit here, we're going to specifically talk about one video game. So we're kind of doing this thing where instead of doing like kind of a jack of all trades show talking about all the news, we're just going to talk about one thing, and this week we're talking about the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo, because I was like, okay, how does that, the remake and stuff. Anyway, so I had the chance to actually play the game, and I will play it again soon. I played it when I was out on vacation, but also Levi has had the opportunity to kind of research it for himself. He's not been able to actually play it, but he's watched through it and stuff, and he's familiar with the franchise, but we're going to talk about it here. I'll talk about my experience. Levi can kind of talk about his feelings towards it. But before we do that, I think it is kind of pertinent to talk a little bit about like our history with the franchise. Levi, do you like have any fondness for this? Did you play it when you were younger? You have to remind me.
I never played FF7. I probably picked it up. I saw the graphics and I was like, nope. So I put it down.
Oh, and this is when you were...
I couldn't even tell where I was on the screen, so I was like,
okay.
nah,
And you came to it a little bit later, though, too, right?
Oh, yeah.
You weren't there right
I
when
didn't.
it came out.
It wasn't like I grew up with this series.
Sure.
I grew up with the series, but not this game.
Yeah, so you don't have necessarily like the same type of fondness for it.
Yeah.
Did you like Advent Children?
Loved Advent Children. I know
Yeah.
we watched a lot of that together.
Yeah, for
with
sure.
Leo in Leo's basement. So
I love Advent Children, and this game looks like what that movie was. You know what I mean? Like we're finally getting to play in that world, which is really cool to me. But yeah, I played Final Fantasy VII a bit with two of my sisters, Amanda and Katie, and we kind of like worked through it together because it was kind of a complex game, especially for when it came out, which was 97. I have to fact check that. But anyway, I remember playing with my older sister Amanda, and she kind of helped us out with that. But yeah, there was some fondness there. But even at the time, I remember thinking it was a little weird because like Cloud and everybody had those weird blocky arms, and Barrett had like a gun arm, and then it looked like everybody when you weren't in combat had like gun arms. So as a kid, I remember thinking like, what's going on here? But obviously. Pretty big jump in graphics since then, and a game that many people, many consider to be probably one of the greatest video games of all time. Kind of a Herculean task, and the fact that this is only the first segment or section of that game. They're going to make it into, I think, at least 2, if not 3 subsequent games, which makes sense because Final Fantasy VII was a big game, and trying to make it look this pretty and put it all in one game would be really hard. So I don't know if they're going to call like part 2 and part 3. I have no idea.
Well, this demo was just 2 hours of the start of Midgar, right?
Yeah, this is just like the first hour or so. Would you prefer, Levi, them calling this one like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, or are you okay with it just calling it nothing?
I'm getting confused with like the different titles, and I don't know.
So
I don't know how they should have done it.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be weird too to see like how much of this first game it covers of the original. So maybe that's part of it. Like maybe they'll give the next segment a different name. I don't know. And if you guys remember back in the day too, these were like multiple discs games. So like take that into account. So like these are big games, and obviously technology has advanced since then. But yeah, either way, I think we should dive.
What are they calling this then?
They're just calling it Final Fantasy VII Remake, I believe.
Not episode 1 or 2?
No, which I know some people are frustrated by, and I understand where it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's false advertising, but I could see where it'd be slightly misleading if you were buying into this game and you were like, oh, cool, I'm going to like get to see probably like Vincent and like, you know, fight Sephiroth, you know, at the very end of the game. Like that's not going to happen in this game. Like it's probably going to go to a point and then kind of cut off and be like, well, come back in 2 or 3 years, you know, or something like that. I don't know how long it's going to take them. I don't think it's an easy way. to do it either way. But this game, I don't know if you're gonna ever please everybody, because it's one of those games where I was like, they're remaking that game. I was like, with Final Fantasy or like Resident Evil, I get it, you know, where it's like, okay, I get it. You can do like, it's a small enclosed story, but like Final Fantasy is like, wow, that's a lot. Anyway, let's talk about the demo. Levi, from your kind of, you know, your research on it and stuff, from watching it, what are your takeaways? What do you like? What don't you like?
Yeah, so my experience with this series has been Advent Children, the voice acting from Advent Children, which I was kind of expecting. I guess I didn't realize the voice acting was not going to be the same. And I played Crisis Core 2 on the PSP. So
there was a sequel.
I'm from, huh?
Was it the first Crisis? Was it just Crisis Core? Is that what you're saying? Okay, I thought you said
on the PSP.
Yeah, I thought you said 2, so you meant 2
Oh,
T-O-O,
no.
not
Yeah.
T-W-O. Yes. Yeah, Crisis Core is good.
With Zach, right? And like it's
Yes.
got like a slot machine mechanic. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Leo about that, and that I was kind of random. Like, you couldn't always pick your attacks, which is kind of
I thought that
strange.
game was actually really fun.
Yeah.
I know that kept me entertained on the PSP. Played that game, and I've watched videos on the game with Vincent Dirge of Cerberus. I never played it, but I saw videos of it. But it's kind of going into it was a little jarring. I was like, oh, the voice actors are definitely different and not really what I expected.
Sure. Yeah, but what else did you think of it, like, graphically or like combat-wise?
Yeah, of course. I mean, just jumping right in, graphics were beautiful, amazing. It's like they took Kingdom Hearts 3 and I mean, is that the best thing to compare that to, I guess? It looks
I don't know. I'd say maybe more like Resident Evil 2 almost, where it's like, you know, the remake there. It's like super pretty. And you have got a very, you know more about Resident Evil, so like you kind of understand the remake treatment better than even I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if this goes over as planned, this could probably be the only really good remake the gaming one of the only good remakes the gaming world has ever seen, you know, besides Resident Evil.
Sure.
Because remakes just don't always work out.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. And I think I was kind of, even when I was playing, I kind of stopped and looked at it, and it kind of gave me, and I shouldn't say it's all going to be Resident Evil. That's like the new bar right now for kind of like visuals and stuff for me, that like it reaches that and goes, you know, at that level. And just like staring at Cloud's hair and stuff, it does feel like I'm kind of, again, playing like Advent Children, just like looking at stuff. I'm like, wow,
that's what I noticed too. I was like,
crazy.
oh, you finally get to play like in that world. It's like
yeah, it's so pretty. Yeah,
it was very pretty, and the combat looks super smooth. So it kind of reminds me of like FF15, Kingdom Hearts, like those kind of combined
for sure. Which was like another interesting aspect I thought for like this game, because you know the original was turnstile based and it had the active time battle, so it would like kind of fill up a meter, and then when that meter like timed out, you could choose to do something. But the other, like the bad guys, whatever you're fighting, they had those too, and if you like kept waiting around looking at stuff, they could still attack you and stuff. So it was kind of this like, if I remember correctly, it's just kind of moving and shaking, like there's a lot going on. But this one is interesting because it is a third-person action game, which allows you to pause, kind of like Dragon Age does, but it looks like Final Fantasy 15. However, in order to do things besides do your basic attacks, like to use your specials or to use magic or to even use items, you have to fill up at least one slot of that ATB meter. So there's some times where you're like low on health and you just use a special move and you don't have like any of that. So you have to keep attacking to build that back up. So it's really kind of emphasizing an aggressive play style. It kind of reminds me of something like Warhammer.
Is that
Space
similar
Marine.
to Final Fantasy VII? Did you have to do that back then? Or?
No, that one was just like it filled up and then you could do it. I think they changed it. If I'm, again, I could be wrong about this, but that was just like it just, when it filled up for you, it was like, okay, do you choose to attack? Do you choose like special move, magic, use an item or something? Now it's like you can attack all the time, or like, and that's what builds up those like those meters. And I'm sure you can get more of than just like the 2 that Cloud had, and also subsequently Barrett has, who joins the party a little bit later on. But kind of having those and keeping that in mind, because it's like, oh man, like if you did something cool and you are like low on health and you're like trying to use an item, it's like, well, you better attack a little bit more so you can build that back up so you can actually use the item, because you can't just pause and use an item. Like you can pause it, but it'll all be grayed out and it'll be like, oh, I can't do anything, at least in the demo. So I thought that was interesting. Again, like I said, kind of an aggressive playstyle. Warhammer, Space Marine, where it's like in that game you can't heal unless you keep attacking. So I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, keeping that in mind, I was like, oh, this is a little bit different. And then also they do, along with just attacking, which you can do kind of regular, you can actually trigger like a different mode. So for Cloud, if you press triangle, you go into this Punisher mode, and you'd be a bit slower, but your attacks would hit a bunch harder. So that was kind of interesting. He also has a block, and if you kind of did like an evade during that Punisher mode, you'd kind of move out of that slow-moving, hard-hitting mode and go back into your regular kind of operator mode, which was just kind of swinging your sword around like it was nothing, because just freaking Cloud is so strong. Like, just swinging it around, like, just like crushing these guys. I'm like, I don't understand how these guys are still alive. Like, he's just ripping into them, which is kind of cool to watch. But then, like I said, you kind of like the magic and the items, which you kind of understand. You kind of use up, like I said, you use half of your meter because there's like 2 little slots there. But then eventually you get the ability to use your limit breaks if you take enough damage or do enough damage, and those are, you know, pretty sweet. Like, you get to see the cross slash from Cloud, or fire in the hole from Barrett, which was good too. Yeah. So the combat was cool, and also it was interesting when you got Barrett on the team and there was like some enemies who were farther away and only he could really shoot at them, unless you used magic with Cloud. And sometimes if the enemies were kind of like floating enemies that were closer, Cloud would like auto jump into the air and do like attacks for me, and I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, like those turrets that Barrett had to like target. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, combat, it's pretty. And it moves pretty quickly.
It's very pretty, and it looks very smooth, and looks like it's running. Was it 60 frames per second? It looks not chunky at all.
Yeah, it might be. It did look good, and it just makes me think about like characters like Vincent or like Sid, the guy with the spear. I'm like, oh, I want to see them in action, you know, like moving around and stuff and doing their attacks and using their different modes and stuff. That'll be cool.
When I'm surprised they pulled this, I guess I'm not super surprised, because God of War was smooth and beautiful, but they pulled this off pretty well for a PS4.
Yeah, and again, this is that's true, and this is the demo too, so I wonder if they're kind of pushing maybe the demo and this game for, you know, PlayStation 4, and then I think it's a timed exclusive and it might come to Xbox, but then they might make, you know, the subsequent, you know, entries in this for the next generation of consoles, or kind of.
You think it'll really come to Xbox?
I think it might. Oh, by the way, I confirmed. Awesome. So the original Final Fantasy VII came out on January 31st, 1997. So I feel good about that. I'm checking. Xbox. Let's see. I think it's a timed exclusive.
Nice.
Let's see.
Until 2021. Okay.
Is it 2021? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was trying to find that. Thank you. But anyway, that's kind of combat. Also, I just want to briefly mention this because there's like the boss later on, or fighting the robots and stuff, and having to use specific magic like thunder to weaken these things, and then also attacking specific portions, like kind of crippling a leg or attacking like a force field to like down that. I thought that was cool, and it kind of made it a little more engaging as opposed to just kind of the standing in a line and kind of, you know, attacking and doing your magic and stuff like that. There's also some kind of like stagger like mechanic built into it, like you can kind of pressure an enemy and then you can build up a stagger meter, kind of like you see in a lot of games now, like kind of not a parry mechanic, but you could stagger them, they fall down, and then you can do a lot more damage. And it's cool, it's flashy.
Barrett just has he just has thunder on him, or did he have to get, how does that work with materia?
So from what I've seen, Cloud had fire with him, and then Barrett just had thunder with him. He just did. So it was just convenient that way. And they're kind of bantering back and forth during battle, kind of reinforcing that. And it was kind of fun, like Cloud just kind of like chastised Barry. It's like, you use the magic, and Barrett's like, I thought you're just, you know, I thought you're full of it. I was like, okay, that's fun. So they're kind of trying to like, you got to pay attention to what they're saying, because I think that battle context information is going to be a big deal, like especially in harder fights like this kind of a spider mech at the end, where it's like, you really gotta pay attention to it. I really wish, and I know they'll probably never do this, I really wish really that they could just have even 2-player co-op. optional. Like, that would be so cool, because there's a few times where it's like, it would be so nice to have somebody else just fully controlling that other character super well. And you can issue battle commands, which is nice. So you can pause and be like, hey, Barrett, use your limit break now, like, and I'm gonna keep fighting. Or like, Cloud, do this, heal me, and I'm gonna keep fighting. Like, that kind of
Would
stuff.
you get annoyed though that the person you're playing with is constantly pausing? And
I think you'd have to take the pausing out for the co-op stuff. Like, I don't think you could do that then.
like it'd have to be like, see, and I keep going back to Kingdom Hearts
Yeah.
because I'm thinking like the wheel you bring up to use that, or FF15 had that too. So it's like the wheel, and then like you're
Yeah. I think you could just do it where it's like they could still bring it up and it just wouldn't pause time or like slow down time as much. It would just be like, all right, I'm thinking about, or just hot button it or something. But I get for this, and then eventually later on, if you do have, I think, was Final Fantasy VII, you could have 3 members at a time. I can't remember exactly. It was 3 or 4, but managing all of them simultaneously, it's nice to have that kind of built-in pause feature. Again, very Dragon Age, which is nothing wrong with that. And the actual combat itself, though, feels more aggressive and action heavy, like a little more akin to a Devil May Cry. So it's not just like, Cloud, go attack this, auto attack, and he's just like slice. It's not that. Like, he's doing combos and stuff. You can like hold box down and he'll do like a longer just change of combo.
Yeah, this generation could not handle timed battle system. Like, to remake a game like this and have it as open, like, it wouldn't work.
Well, yeah, like, I don't know if it wouldn't really feel like a remake if they just I guess they could be like, oh, it is a remake, but we just made it all pretty, and it's also still just like you're standing in a line, you know. Like, I think this is
because
it's different, right?
When you replay Pokemon games that are remakes or stuff like that, you're just like, oh, I don't know, like the turn based, it just feels a little dated, I guess.
Yeah, well,
and it loses my interest, I guess, when I'm playing.
Yeah, and that's why I so desperately want a freaking Pokemon game that takes a cue from this and is like actually like the shows, because how many times in the show does like Ash just have Pikachu just stand there and take a hit, and then Pikachu just gets a perfect hit on something else? Like, that's how the games work. But like, Pokemon are dodging and stuff. Like, there's like a ton of missed moves. I would like to see that personally. But it's a great little slice, I think, of this game, and looks really cool. Besides Barrett and Cloud, there's Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, and then you get to see Heidegger and the president of Shinra, and Heidegger. Barrett at the very end, right? Heidegger, I think, is voiced by Joe DiMaggio, the guy who plays Marcus Phoenix, because I was like listening to him, I'm like, oh yeah, that's him. I was like, oh, he's here, yes. But I think the guy they got to do Cloud, I don't know if he's done it in the past, but I think he sounds pretty good. What do you think?
I don't know, like, but why not use the same voice actors from Advent Children? Like, those guys killed it. Like, I don't know.
Are they not the same people?
They're not.
They're not.
They can't be, because Barrett sounds totally different.
Barrett might be. I don't know. I'm interested. Yeah, if you can find out, let me know. But but the game felt really good. I think, like I said, as a fan, and a very not like hardcore Final Fantasy VII fan from the past, but playing it as a kid, it has a little bit of that spirit, I think. But it's definitely for a new age, and I like it because it's a bit more fast-paced. Still tactical for sure, but I think it's got this kind of new fun marriage of things, and I like to see the DNA, like we talked about, of like previous Square games being built in here, and kind of trying to perfect something that wasn't normally a game like this, that was in turnstile based, getting switched completely into something different, but also still retaining that a little bit.
Well, it's interesting, yeah. So it says Steve Burton, this guy that plays Cloud, has literally played him in Advent Children, okay? And then Kingdom Hearts 2, Dirge of Cerberus, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Jade of Memories, Crisis Core, Dissidia, Dissidia 2, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, like all World of Final Fantasy, Mobius, Dissidia, and then that was it in 2018.
Huh.
A couple more years, why?
Yeah, I wonder why they didn't bring him back.
It's fine. I'm sure I'll get used to it, but it'll be jarring to go from Advent Children and then expecting those voices, and then carrying over this.
Sure. I guess I didn't notice the difference with Cloud so much. He sounded pretty much the same, but maybe I'm way
Well, and
off.
Barrett threw me off too, because Barrett just sounded different, but
Well,
whatever.
I think Barrett, for him, like, he's not, at least in the demo, he's not as nice to Cloud. Like, in Advent
Yeah.
Children, they're buddy, you know?
Oh
So,
yeah.
like, when he talks to
When
him,
I
like,
was
on the
surprised by that
phone.
because I've never played Final Fantasy VII before, so I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, he's kind of a dick to him right now.
Yeah, for sure, exactly. They're not on the best of terms right away. It doesn't seem like, and they do take a few creative liberties, I guess, with the beginning, which we're gonna get some questions about here shortly. But before we do that, any other kind of like thoughts or feelings towards this? Again, Levi, first, like for you seeing it, are you interested? Does this make you want to get this, or are you like, eh?
I might have to pick up a cheap PS4 to fucking play this game.
I thought you had one, didn't you?
I did. I don't have one anymore.
Wait, you sold another PS4?
A long time ago.
Oh gosh.
Well, quite a while ago.
Okay. Yeah, but any other or anything you didn't like about this besides the voices?
No. I mean, I think it's really delivering on promises that was made, which is really the most important thing. So
Sure. Well, yeah. Well, and that's obviously we're just seeing the demo though, so I'm curious to see.
Because we've been, what has it been since 2013? When did they first announce this? Like
E3?
I don't know.
Like it's been a
it was
while.
like a snippet. It's been a long time
So
coming.
long.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so long. And I think someone mentioned this too. Final Fantasy 15 had a great demo that was super smooth and wonderful, but then like the full game wasn't as compelling. But I think this one they're throwing everything at time and money. Like this game, like the demo is just like, and Final Fantasy 15 too was a game that was or at least the demo was dripping with budget and stuff, but that game seemed very open and there wasn't like as much to do. But I feel like this game they're trying to cram as much into this first one, and they're like, all right,
I don't think Sony would let Square Enix and Sony would not let their baby get tarnished. I know.
Sure. Yeah, I'm interested though. But anyway, I want to talk about like some community feedback and questions because we got some people who are writing in. Levi,
what are the kids saying?
Yeah, let's say, Levi, do you have Discord open? I've got Discord open. Do you want me to?
I do not.
Okay, that's fine. I'll start with the first one here. Okay, hold on. Let me move this over. All right, so let's actually start with our dear friend Fragadin. I love you, Frag. He says over on our Discord, I have a concern about the full game. The demo plays incredibly smooth, even the cutscenes look so smooth, but considering how small and isolated the demo is, can we expect to see the same level of performance in the full game, I wonder? Reminds me of like how in Final Fantasy 15, that demo they released was incredibly smooth and felt seamless, but we got Final Fantasy 15 in full, great game, but loads of choppy frames.
Well, and that was also on the 360. So limited technology.
No, it wasn't. It was on Xbox One.
Shut your butt.
15?
Really?
Yeah, 15's on Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
Oh, Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of 13. Okay.
Yep. Nope.
You kept saying so I'm like thinking Lightning every time.
No,
I'm like, what?
Noctis. Think Noctis.
You are correct. So you're talking about like when you're like kid Noctis, right? And you're like playing on the big blocks and stuff. And that was very good. And then we did get 15, and it was that game like almost needed to come out for Pro or for Xbox One X. Yeah. Like they almost should have waited because it didn't really do its justice. Sure, it looks beautiful on the PSC, like the PC.
Sure.
Yeah, very choppy.
Do you think that this one will have the same level of like smoothness throughout all of it?
Gonna need a big ass download, that's for sure.
Well, sure. I feel like too, you know, with this type of thing, because like you said before, Levi, like Square, this is like one of Square's like it might be their penultimate game. I think that like they know they can't screw it up, and they've seen the success that Capcom's had with doing a remake like Resident Evil 2, and I'm sure 3 will be a success as well. But taking the time to make it not only for the fans, but for a new group of people who are going to fall in love with these characters. And I think they're going to try their darndest to make this as polished as possible, and that's why it's taken so long. So I don't know. We're only a month out, so it's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be really interesting to play this game, and I think there's a bit more depth to it than 15. So I'm looking forward to that too.
Well, so how does this game play out? Do you get out of Midgar? Is there another world?
So from my understanding, you do get to go explore the entire kind of world afterwards. So the question is like, you know, how much of this is going to take place? Is this portion of this game, you know, going to take place just in the city for the most part? Or are you going to be able to go out and free roam at some point? I have no idea. I'm sure they have a plan for it though, right? Like they've got to, right?
Well,
right?
Well, what I guess my question is like, because I've never played Final Fantasy VII, like, so there's more to there's more than just Midgar.
Yes.
The game doesn't all just take place as a story in that town.
No,
Okay.
I don't
So
believe
there's an
so.
open map. There's like a
Yes.
overworld.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. There's an airship and chocobos.
Really?
There
Okay.
chocobo like special chocobos to take you over certain terrain and things like that.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a huge game. It's a massive game. So it's like I was like, oh my god, they're gonna make it that whole game and make it this pretty. I'm like, one question I was talking about with some other people is how are you going to do the kind of the ultimate weapons, which are kind of optional end bosses that are like these gigantic robots, and I'm like, how are they going to do that? Like they've got to do it right. Like 'cause people will be like, where's the ultimate? Like, I wonder if they'll do that as like DLC. Anyway, next kind of comment comes in here too on Discord from Missile Mage. We love you, Missile Mage. He says, "What Final Fantasy VII has in its favor is that it isn't going to be open world. Should help with the smoothness a lot." So I'm guessing this first one isn't going to be open world. I don't know if the subsequent ones will be, but because like I just talked about it being that, so
Like
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think they're gonna do a catch where it's like you have to have a PS5 to play like the last two chapters?
I think I don't know,
Oh
man.
God, that would be. I wonder if that would be like really hated.
Yeah, that's why I still think that this
Ooh.
game is going to come out like this first one, and then they'll have like a like an optimized version for PlayStation 5 and Xbox, just the next Xbox. So I don't know. I'm seriously interested.
Would you be upset if they did that? They're like, you have to have a PS5 because we're not releasing the last two chapters on PS4.
I don't know. I think they. I don't know. That's so tricky. Well, no.
Because if you think about it, if have they released a timeline for these?
Not that I
Have
know
they
of.
said?
Not that I know of.
So think about it like this: we're getting this in April.
Yeah.
PS5 is supposed to be coming out this holiday season.
Yes.
Part 2 probably will not come out till next year, which means
if that.
if that, and full swing of PS5 games will take off, and then by end of next year. So part 3 and 4, they'll probably have 4 parts.
I have no idea. I wish
Wow.
I could sit here and think like the same with Resident Evil 3, where like they were clearly making Resident Evil 3 remake like while Resident Evil 2 is kind of like wrapping up, or maybe even simultaneously, and it's not like, oh, Resident Evil 2 remake did really well, we should greenlight 3. It's like no,
Well,
they're working on that, but like I would love to
Resident
sit
Evil
here.
2.
Huh?
Well, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
I would love to sit here and say maybe they made all of this game, the entire game's ready, and they're just like chunking it out piecemeal because they're like, well, it's going to be like an insane game. But if that were the case and people found out about it, they'd be frustrated because they'd be like, I will download a 1 terabyte version of Final Fantasy VII that's all together and pay like $200 for it. Like, I don't think I don't think it's really all done yet. And that's why they're like, all right, this first one goes out, and then in 2 or 3 years, the next one goes out.
2 or 3 years.
I don't know. I don't know, man. It's a big game. It's a big game. I don't like, and it's Final Fantasy VII.
I just don't know if I can believe for a PS4, which is already a dated console, that we're going to be that. I don't know, man. But the thing that works so well about Resident Evil Remake is that it was very local. Like, you had not a lot of settings. You had a little bit of the world, very very tiny bit of the world, but then you really were just in the police station for the most part.
Yeah.
So it was contained quite a bit.
Well, yeah, and that's how that game, I mean, originally was. It wasn't like they're like 20 hours in, you get like a cop car and you get to like drive around all of Raccoon City, which I'm sure some people would love, but the level of detail in that game is so insane. I don't know how they could do that. And I'm still not confirmed here either way, like if it's coming out in 2 parts, 3 parts, and when the next part's coming out, because that's all people want to ask. Because I feel like people, no matter what, are going to flip and fly through this game, even if it's like 60 or 80 hours long, and they'll be like, all right, where's part 2? Like, where's part 2? It's like, just hold your horses. Hold your horses, friend. Next question comes in via the old Twitter. This is from our buddy Ryan. Ryan, always writing in. We love you so much, Ryan. Thank you. He says, I haven't played the demo yet, but have it downloaded. My question is, do you think the demo gave you enough of a taste of how the whole game will feel? Levi? What do you think?
I don't really understand the question.
What do you think it gives? Yeah, it's the question. Do you think the demo gave you enough of a taste of how the whole game will feel? Like, will the game feel this way the whole time?
I mean, I think it's really hard to say because what we're seeing in the demo is very, very linear. Um, so I guess we'll see what happens when you go off the rails, and
Sure.
if they can continue. I hope so
Yeah.
because it looks smooth as hell.
Yeah. I hope so too. I think the combat, you get a good feel at least for that portion of it.
I was gonna say, does it feel good? Does it?
I think it feels great. Like the hits feel really good. Again, though, it's funny to see more of like a photorealistic Cloud. Maybe not fully photorealistic, but like crushing these soldiers with his sword and hitting them like 6 or 7 times before they go down. And you're like, man, these guys would be just like blood and just destroyed. Like they would not be around anymore. But yeah, I think it does. And this was like a linear mission. And I think a lot of these missions will be somewhat linear for this outing. So I am interested to see if that's going to be something that frustrates people later on, where they might give you like a small area to kind of roam around and kind of like duck in and out of like little shops and stuff. But besides that, they might not really give you a ton of free roam, which you don't really get in that game, like I said, until later on. I'm not sure. But again, I think it does give you a good enough taste. It's an hour long. And it gives you a good feel for what at least the combat and kind of the interplay between the characters is going to be like. So yeah.
Well, how many discs was the original Final Fantasy?
Was it 4? Was it 4? I don't know.
9?
4? It was many. But then again, the technology was older. So
how so how long does disc 1 take? How many hours?
Couldn't tell you.
Back in the day.
Also, I think you could spend like a lot more, like depending on certain discs, like you could spend more time doing things or like grinding things out or doing like optional things on certain ones. So it could vary a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's been like 23. Wait, is it 23 years? No. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it has. Oh man, 23 years. Wow. That's a long time. We have one more write-in here, and this is great because this is from Wes Bates over on Twitter, and he sent it to our email, actually, and like nobody ever sends stuff to our emails, so please, if you guys ever have a question or a topic for us you want us to cover, it's gocriticalreviews@gmail.com. That's gocriticalreviews@gmail.com. Send them in. I love this. He says, hey, Critical Review crew. I hope you all had a blast playing the demo for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I know I did. I wanted to send you a quick question regarding the remake for the podcast. It seems clear that Square Enix is taking some liberties with the story compared with the original game. For instance, in the demo, the explosion from the bomb planted by Cloud and Barrett in the Mako reactor is enough to cause the reactor to explode, but not the entire plant. The actual plant explosion is caused by Heidegger and President Shinra, causing the automatons in the plant to destroy everything, seemingly to make the incident worse and frame Avalanche as terrorists. This doesn't happen in the original, and the bomb itself is enough to cause the entire plant to blow up. Another example is the introduction of new characters to the story, such as Soldier, third class member Roche. My question to you all, how far can Square take the deviations to the story without creating a backlash from fans? My understanding is that the game is a bit of a reimagining of the Final Fantasy VII storyline, so it makes sense that it will be a bit different, but how much deviation is too much? If they were to add a new party member, for instance, would that be acceptable, or would it anger fans of the series? What kind of changes, if any, would you like to see from the story in the new game? Stay critical and cool, from Wes Bates. So how much deviation is too much deviation, Levi?
Well, adding a little side character here and there to give some more context to the story is fine by me. I know people are already really hot about not being able to play Red 13, so the party member thing might be too much. I wouldn't touch that.
Sure. Wait, you can't play him in this game?
Cannot play Red 13.
Wait,
no.
like ever?
Ever.
What?
They decided.
What?
Sorry, I thought you already knew that.
I am not. I saw they showed him off, and I thought no, this is not.
So,
if that's true.
Red 13 will be a ally. He jumps in with you. Will fight alongside you, but you won't be able to play as him because they figured he's added too late in the game to begin with. So why give you a character that
What? No, this is that. That ain't right. Red 13. We didn't know what that Roman numeral meant back in
I thought you already
kids.
knew that. I feel bad now.
We just called him Red X. Oh man, I love Red 13. If Kate Sith is playable, and Red 13's not, I might be flying to Japan. I'll be like, hey guys, hi. Okay.
I'll read the excerpt here.
This
We
hurts
felt
me.
the point at which Red 13 joins the party in the story is very late on, so we thought, okay, if we're gonna have him as a full character and try and get the player to enjoy his character development, arc, and growth as a character about that, through that, it's not really enough time to do that. We thought that the best way to have him involved was as a guest character. Normally, throughout the game, you'll be playing as a 3-man party, but you'll have him as a guest character that fights alongside you during the last part of the story. He'll be using all of his old, really nostalgic moves, and you'll see that. We felt that was the best way of showing him off as a character and who he is. That's why we felt the best way. That's how we felt the best way to include it.
So I feel like that's them just saying we're putting him in the next game and not this one. Because if that were the case, I think you could Vincent even later on than that, and I don't think he's going to be in this game at all. So maybe they'll do the same for Vincent in the next game, and they'll be like, but he's playable in the third game, you know? So him not being playable here is fine. It's frustrating, but I think in the next one they'll be like, oh yeah, he's fully playable now. Like,
that's kind of like a full circle thing. Is it going to be 7-1, 7-2?
Yeah, that's the thing that we don't know. Sorry, getting back to the question because we're getting off topic there. I agree with Levi. I think messing with the party members, they have like 9 core party members. And a few optional ones which are part of that 9. I don't think you mess with that. I think if you you could add, and it would be better than taking away, because obviously you just saw my reaction there if they're just like pulling some away. So like people are saying like, what if Reno, one of the Turks, could be playable as like a character in this game, and like maybe for this first portion you could do that, but I don't think consistently throughout. And I think taking little liberties, like saying the president of Shinra and Heidegger like made that explosion bigger, like I think that makes it more of a complex story, and maybe they could say like at Square that was the intention in the original game. They just didn't have enough time to like kind of put that moment in. I'm fine with that. I think that just makes it more of a complicated thing, and we can appreciate it more so. But again, like I don't think you're gonna start seeing things like they start changing the names of moves or how moves look or like how characters really look. Like I don't think they'll mess with that. So keeping that core, pun intended, Crisis Core, keeping that core, identity of Final Fantasy VII intact is your selling point here, and not moving away from that as staying as close as you possibly can is just paramount to your success. Like you gotta stay there. Like you really can't mess around with that. Like you can't take too many creative liberties. Like when you see like the brief image of Sephiroth and stuff like we've seen, it's not like they changed him drastically or like made him have like a gigantic like claymore instead of a katana, or like his hair was like red. Like, you know, they're not gonna do that. So I think a little deviation, or like Levi said, adding like little minor characters is fine, but just don't stray from it too much because you're gonna frustrate people. But and then he also asked what kind of changes, if any, would you like to see from the story in the new game? Levi, you're not, like I said, you're not as huge of a fan of 7, but is there anything in particular that you'd like to see?
Oh, it's not that I'm not a fan of 7. I just didn't play it.
Sure. You're not a
like I said,
yeah.
I love the world, and I don't know. I guess I don't know. Yeah.
Sure. I've been trying not to like remember the entire storyline. So like for me, I think one thing I enjoyed is they've kind of started implementing Cloud's kind of his mental struggle earlier, which is kind of fun. Just watching that start to build up right away, I think is interesting. I'm not sure if that was there originally, but I would like to see more of that. I'd like to see, some more flashback stuff. Like I like the idea of stuff in Crisis Core of like Sephiroth and kind of that group before Final Fantasy VII. I would love to see some of that stuff kind of get implemented here a little bit more, and see some more of the Zack stuff, which I think is in this game, but I'd like to see that fleshed out.
Zack. Oh, Zack, yeah.
Yeah, Zack. I forget his name.
Well, there's a couple other side characters too, right? Like isn't there like a dude with red hair?
That's where I was talking about Reno earlier. He's from the Turks. Is that what you're talking about?
Sure. Yeah, I just remember him from Advent Children.
Yeah, and it's Reno and Rude, I think.
Are those versions of Sephiroth, are those in Final Fantasy VII, or is that just Advent Children?
That's just Advent Children.
Oh, okay.
Zach Fair, by the way, Zach Fair. Yeah,
Got
so
it.
in Advent Children, for people who haven't watched it, they should go watch it. But it's like 3 like distinct versions or like kind of offshots of kind of Sephiroth or clones type of thing. So they're not fully Sephiroth and Genova and all that stuff. It gets messed up pretty quick. If they could do anything in this game, I would love it if they just made it less convoluted. In that respect, I know I was saying earlier I liked how it kind of more complicated with like Shinra and stuff, but with some of that lore stuff, I hope they can kind of find a way to visually condense that and show it in a more interesting way. And also, whenever they make the second or third or final part of this, make that final version of Sephiroth look a lot cooler, because I really hate how that looks. I really do. Oh my gosh, it does not look cool. And I'm a Sephiroth fanboy. Like,
How does he look? I'm gonna have to look it up.
It
Second or
looks
third version?
so weird. Like, if you look up like Sephiroth final form, it's like so weird. Like, woof, dude. Like, not great. Let's look at. All right, Levi, show your face on this one. He's gonna be real honest here, and it's good.
Oh, I can't be right. Hold on. Is that real?
Yeah, is it like you see like half of him and like the rest is like weird like wings and he's like floaty?
Yeah, it looks like the Pokemon.
Yeah, he looks like a
Diablo
Pokemon
or whatever.
Yeah, he looks really weird, doesn't he? He's like shirtless.
Yeah, that looks really weird.
Yeah, that's weird, right?
Oh, I didn't know that was.
And knowing my luck, that's probably not even the final form of him. Like, people will be like, oh, there's actually a form after that. But I don't like that look. That looks horrible. Something wrong with Final Fantasy bosses, like end bosses, rarely look super cool, or they kind of come out of nowhere. Yeah, I know some people somewhere like screaming. They're like, but 8 or 12. Missile Mage, I know you're watching. I know you're listening. Those ones look great, I'm sure. Yeah, but that's a really good question. And you know what? I'm going to pass that question along to everybody else here too, like who is listening to this. How much deviation is too much? And what would you like to see changed in the story of this new game, if anything? Even if it's just little stuff or maybe additions and things like that. I would also love more, and I'm sure it's in the original, but I love interplay. The kind of the chatting and combat I thought was a really nice touch to this, and I'm hoping we get a lot of that. And I like this kind of more just kind of talking about how the characters are connected to each other. I think that helps out a lot. I love that. I always love the character building, because it makes it more emotional. If like one of them's about to go down in a fight and you're like, oh no, they care about each other. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, there you go. There are questions. That was great. So many great questions this week. Thank you guys so much for writing in. I appreciate it so much. Levi, do you have anything else you want to say about Final Fantasy VII Remake demo right now?
Nope. I'm excited to see it.
Okay, cool. Well, it's coming out next month, and I'm going to be playing it, streaming it, doing stuff, because
I'll be playing Animal Crossing, but I'll cheer you on.
You'll be playing Animal Crossing. Yeah, you'll be building your little town, which we should. Oh, I just had a really good idea for a show, but I don't know when we would do it. I would love to have an episode where you were on and Katie was on, because she's going to be playing Animal Crossing, and I'm just like sitting in the back over there because I don't have a pony in the Animal Crossing race. I'm more about Doom Eternal. Like that one, I'm like, oh, that seems more fun for me. But yes, if you guys ever have a question or a topic for the show, because like we said, we're kind of focusing on doing one thing per episode now, so we'll probably do like an actual Final Fantasy VII Remake episode down the line once I actually like play it and beat it, and heck, probably review it. We'll see. But all you have to do is tweet the hashtag #CriticalPodcast. You can tweet at our official account, which is at GoCritical, or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. Levi, if they wanted to tweet you, where would they find you?
Don't tweet me. So.
Perfect. Good.
I'm at Levi Fletcher.
It's okay. He always says that. He loves it.
It's my tagline. Yeah.
And as I said kind of earlier, we do have an email. So please, if you ever have a topic or just like some feedback or whatever, or a question, send it to us. Again, that's the GoCriticalReviews@gmail.com. I would absolutely love to hear from you guys. It's really cool to go into an email, like, which is usually just like work and boring stuff, and then see something like fun like that pop up. I'm like, oh, good. Like, or we'll see a comment on the YouTube videos. Like, I love that. Speaking of that, if you want to support us, we do have, you're watching us right now on this channel. You can subscribe to us here, or you can donate to our Patreon. But seriously, just watching us, sharing us around, and asking or talking to other people who make videos like this to team up. that's the best thing for us. Like that's just so much fun. Like I got to go over and be on an Easy Allies show, which was a dream come true for me. So hopefully we'll get one of those guys on again soon. But until then, just remember to adapt and overcome. And we'll see you next time. Bye. All right, Levi, play us out.
Bye, guys.
He nailed it. He nailed it.